Good afternoon, my name is Steve Ball. I'm working with Composed Systems, and this presentation is on modern user interface, user experience with LabVIEW. I actually was going to have a third flip on the screen, but I forgot what's making. Let's start off by framing the problem. Basically, I'm an engineer, we're all engineers of some sort. We don't want to do this. Hopefully we have done this. Alright, so before actually we get into too much more presentation, I want to show you a preview of my demo code to hook you in. So what I've done here is I've got a dynamic button generator.
The projecting screen.
That happened last time. Same exact point when I switched over my VM, and I fixed it by unplugging it and plugging it back in again. Okay. Cool, it's repeatable. So here I have an icon button. I can make it a round icon. I can add text, or I can have just the text. But wait, there's more. It can have an outline. Oh wait, you can't see that. Let's change the text color. Oh wait, you can't see that. Let's change the icon to something black. Here's my available icons. Select that. Oh, that's kind of big. Let's make it bigger. Grasp gigs up. That didn't work. So we can change colors. We can disable the button. It's got, let's change it back to the solid style so you can actually see this. It's got mouse over effects. And when you click it, here's a brief animation. So this is pretty cool. It was a little harder than I thought to implement in LabVIEW. And we will build up to how I did that over the course of the presentation. Alright, so we're going to start off talking about some misconceptions when it comes to designing user interfaces. Then we'll talk about some general rules, golden rules, as a matter of fact, for good UI and UX. Then we'll talk about something called material design. You might have heard that 2 sessions ago. We'll hear a little bit more about it. I provide a little more detail. And then we'll go and see my LabVIEW demo, and we'll look at LabVIEW code behind it, how that works. So why should we care about user interface, user experience? Polling you guys. Any ideas?
Well, sometimes our users are not engineers or experts, or
not all users are equal in their expectations or what they want to use the software.
So it's only part that 99% of the key stakeholders see.
Exactly.
Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, it minimizes training time if you have it well designed. And,
I'll repeat that. Did everybody hear that? So the user interface is the face of the application. It's what everybody sees. It's critically important that not only does it look reasonable, that it works as expected. And anybody?
Lately, more and more on the production floor, the people that are using the devices, testing equipment and that, their only experience anything automated is their smartphone. Right. If it doesn't act like their smartphone look and feel, they can't run it anymore. We're seeing more and more people coming into work.
Absolutely.
That's all. That's the only UI they know.
That's become more and more prevalent. Right? With the smartphone, our expectations have changed.
We expect everything to look like that. Or they.
another thing a UI can do is guide you towards a correct process and not do something terribly wrong. It's designed well.
Awesome.
Well, you can't idiot-proof because idiocy is infinite.
I didn't say idiot-proof, I said guide the.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hopefully that addresses a lot of this.
It's a way of showing respect towards the people that you're writing the software for. In that, if you're willing to take the time provide an interface that makes it easy for them to do your job.
Yes.
It's going to make them respect you more, and it shows that you respect them enough to create that process through.
Yeah, awesome.
Along that kind of same line, it decreases the number of false negative reports. So someone says something isn't working, and you go in, you find out they just didn't understand how to do it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't obvious.
I've had that experience, and probably most of the people in this room, right? Okay. What is user experience? So let's drill down. UI is part of it. UX is the other. Does anybody have a definition that they like to use?
I'm good. This is,
All right, well, I have a definition. So this one, I didn't want to make this up. So I found a really cool post online by this guy, Kalgar Araz. He's a UX engineer at Lego. And he says that user experience, it's all about the relationship between users, UI objects, and what context they're in. What task are you trying to accomplish? Who's the person? Who's the user? And I hate using the word user, but who's the individual trying to use your software? What are they trying to do? What objects do they have at their disposal? And how does that interaction work? How do they expect it to work? So it's really the collision of these three things. I like that. All right, so some quick misconceptions. When we're making user interface cool and fancy is stuff like this. That's not really my end goal when I'm creating user interface. Making something that's consistent and understandable is typically more important than something that looks, freaking sweet. Like these media player skins.
that's so neat.
That is,
yeah.
Awesome. I think.
That's what I went.
Yeah. I think the one on the right is Windows Media Player. And like the weakness of those, right? You dial up your modem to AOL and you download this Windows Media Player skin. You're like, sweet dude, we got this new skin. Then you got to search for the play button. How do I load a new playlist?
Yes.
Like, how does this thing even work? So that's the drawback of taking design to that kind of extreme. All right, so let's frame the problem.
Yes.
We have clients, we have people who give us requirements, and they want to see everything at the same time. That's what is clearly stated, and they insist on it.
You said no, right?
Is this a good, kind of opportunity for some malicious compliance? You could, but that's really not the tack I would personally take. Here, having views that are relevant to a specific context is the way to go. You only want to put things on the screen that are relevant for the current task. You don't want to clutter your screen. This is confusing, and I think within the case of Microsoft Word, that's pretty self-imposed. They just checked every option on it. But nevertheless, don't make things look like this. Okay, another problem. My clients don't want to pay for good UIs. They don't want to pay for a good UX. I mean, you need to have a usable program. So there's a little dissonance in that question or statement. Here, good design is something, it's a skill that you can get better at with time. So hopefully you can learn a little bit of design, and that will pay dividends for years to come. And also, we use LabVIEW. There are lots of different UI component packages that you can download and use. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you make a UI. So I would encourage you to read a little bit about design and use stuff that other people have made in a mindful way, and you can get some pretty good results. All right, now let's challenge the room a little bit. Does anybody feel this way about anything? User interface in LabVIEW? And if you do, I'm not sure if you're serious. This is LabVIEW. yeah, we're not like in the top languages on Stack Overflow, but that doesn't mean we can't follow the same software industry best practices across the board. User interface included.
One of the reasons I use LabVIEW is because I can make nice user interfaces easy.
Yeah. You can make a really good UI in LabVIEW. Absolutely, that's it's the whole thing. Okay, so you got a large legacy code base, and it looks one way, and it's been installed for 20 years. What do you do? Is there any room for improvement? There's always room for some improvements. No, you're not going to be able to, throw everything out and start over. I had a client that I worked with earlier in my career that they were looking for something to improve their performance in their eyes of their superior before the end of the year. And I suggested, hey, why don't you reskin the main menu of your application? So he had kind of a dated menu with a bunch of buttons. He changed it to look flat and modern. This was over 10 years ago. And sure enough, it was his review time. His boss mentioned, wow, you really made that interface look better. It wasn't a lot of work to do that. And it has a big result. All right. So what are some rules of good UI and good UX? So when I was preparing for this presentation, I came across Theo Mandel. He has a PhD in cognitive psych, and he is a consultant available to work on UI. And he has published this book called The Elements of User Interface Design. I should probably pull it up. Found it on Amazon. This book was published, well, I'm not going to look, sometime in the early 90s. It's got great pictures of what interfaces looked like way long ago. But the cool part about it is that, UX is mature. This is a job title. It's an industry. And the fundamental pieces behind this, how you interact with a computer, haven't changed, and they're not going to change. So we can use these golden rules now and going forward. So what Theo Mandel says the golden rules of user interface design are giving the user control or some illusion of control in the program, reduce their memory load. We have the power of a computer to remember stuff, make things easier for our users. So we should leverage that in our programs. We should also make our user interface consistent. It's kind of goes without saying. Things should look the same. All right, so let's do a dive into these three concepts. First, use modes judiciously. The problem we're trying to avoid is having modes that sometimes, I forget I'm in wire mode and I want to select something and I click and I get an unexpected result in my program. That's bad. The auto tool alleviates a lot of this in LabVIEW. In a word processor, you're in insert or edit mode all the time, right? So it doesn't have to be something that's you think about a lot. So you want to be very careful introducing that kind of concept into your software. Provide input flexibility. So more and more systems are becoming touchscreen. Design around that changes a lot of concepts. And that changes what programs look like and how they behave. If you have any way of hooking a keyboard into your software program, please put keyboard shortcuts in for advanced users. There's some sort of way to do things faster than, avoid...
At least let them tap around, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that feeds into the next part. Yeah, you want to be able to move freely through the program in any order. You don't want wizard-based workflows. You should be able to change focus, go from one part of the program to the other without losing data. Right? Sustain that, that context. We'll probably spend a few minutes, and we will, discussing the text you use in your programs. Use human words. Don't use computer words. Don't use industry words or domain words if you can help it. Make stuff simple, concise, and understandable to your users.
Anybody seen this before where they have a button that said press this button to continue instead of just a button with the word continue on it? Yeah, has anybody ever seen that?
This was the easiest and hardest slide to get a picture for. There are so many bad examples of text in software and bad dialogue choices, things like that.
Something like this, you don't even have to use text. You can just put 2 flags.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can just say,
There's a million better ways than that picture.
Yeah.
what does that icon even mean?
For the icon.
Yeah.
Volleyball or something. Let's put that again to do a full design review.
You didn't make them, did you?
No.
Okay, it's still legal.
Wilson. Yeah. Your system has crashed, and then the only choice you have is okay. No, it's not okay.
Yeah, dialogues are very tricky, or easy to get wrong, and then people make fun of you on the internet. Don't forget that.
Yes, exactly.
So what the program is doing, this dialogue, this is scary. We're deleting everything from our C drive. Fortunately, I can see, unfortunately, it's like 90% done. Fortunately, there's a pause and a cancel button right by that progress bar. So I feel like I have control over that operation.
Thank you.
All right.
Less done.
It's a loop. Yeah. Well, yeah, computers and progress bars, it's a rough history. Programs should be navigable. You should be able to get from one part of the program to the other without having a PhD. Right? So this is a music app, you have a library recently played, you can get from one side to the other, there's buttons. If you have more options than like before, you should probably have sort of more or menu. There's considerations there. And I don't know how you guys think about your users, but there's a whole spectrum of technical ability and reading comprehension between these two groups, right? So what you basically want to do is you need to provide the support for novice users so things are clear and understandable for them. You also need to have keyboard shortcuts or some way for the more advanced users to build up their workflows. So you need to be kind of aware of the breadth of the people that will be using your software. Yes?
And part of that process is realizing that people go through gradations, right? Somebody starts using your software. That's kind of one of the reasons why a lot of us probably like LabVIEW is you start off with LabVIEW, it's really easy to work with, but it's very deep, right? It's easy to work with on the surface and there's a lot of depth to it. So you get kind of that process of learning more and more and more and enjoying the software more because you get better at it, the software works with you still.
Absolutely. Good point.
I would actually disagree with the point of keyboard shortcuts. A lot of scientists I work with don't want keyboard shortcuts. What they do want is, you have a picture icon. Maybe if you float over it, it'll say what this button does. But eventually, once they become advanced users, they just want the button like, I see all these buttons, I click on the second button, and they don't care what it says anymore. They know what it does. And so in that sense, you can actually clean up your UI without having so much clutter in words, but at the same time, it still gives them, a fast way to get
Absolutely, yeah. The interesting thing about this is it's so subjective, right? So a whole third of this is who your users are and what their expectations are.
It's user-driven requirements.
Yeah, probably the biggest is for tabs, I think, not necessarily for buttons, but more for like inputs. So if you have a bunch of inputs you need to fill in all the time, basically you'll not have to go to the mouse wherever you know. But if you just got a bunch of buttons, maybe it's not so important.
Yes. And my point is, you should be user-driven.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So you should make the user interface operations transparent. If I click on a button, I want to know what it does without any external help or training, right? So this user interface is both a positive and a negative example. So up here we have these top row. You know, a pretty good idea what happens if I click on a cube, right? This is some sort of 3D mesh, 3D space that's going to make a cube in here. These buttons are going to pan and zoom and rotate. What do these buttons do? Check. That was one of my biggest frustrations. This is Bryce 3D. It came out like 20 years ago. It was really good at making meshes. And those buttons, I think, changed the program into different modes where you can edit the textures and stuff.
I thought they were to align the birds in a flock.
Nice. You know, there's no contextual information there. There was no text. I remember from using that many years ago. So you should let your users customize the program. So reskinning things, having light mode and dark mode, letting them use colors. A lot of I've worked with a lot of people who are colorblind, right? So they can't tell the difference between booleans of different states, red, green, stuff like that.
I was actually going to bring that up because I am colorblind, and we make sure that our UIs have at least some information. I think it's for everybody colorblind. Yeah. And so like buttons would have text on them, so safety critical stuff is definitely outlined very well. Yep. Sure. And also blink rings to make sure people who have seizures don't see that.
Yeah, I agree with him that you should have a color and text so that people can use either or whatever. But the objection I would have to allowing them to change the color scheme is if there's multiple users that use the same program. And one of them knows they always hit the blue button, and then someone else comes along and says, I'd rather have this button be blue. It really mess them up. I think you want a consistent user interface. Yeah, it's nice to give them some flexibility, but you want it to be consistent.
Right. Yeah, so here recoloring like terminal, we're using categories. We're not like saying this is part of the screen is this color, this is that. It's like this category is, you know, when I have something that's recognized as a file, it's going to be this color. And if it's a tab, it's going to be this color. You can use that metaphor with LabVIEW. Recoloring things in LabVIEW is a little trickier than recoloring a terminal. But that's something that is consideration. Don't rely on this color. Same thing for input. So this is an accessibility issue, and it's also a convenience issue for your users. If they're able to rebind keys, that's super helpful. All right. It's great to be able to directly manipulate the objects on the interface. So this book was written in the time of Windows 3.1. So the File Explorer is a great example of, you know, you click on the files and folders, or you right click and you do stuff, you know, right in that interface. You're not always working through a menu, so like a menu or wizard-driven interface, and you're definitely not working in the command line if you're a regular user. So that metaphor has bridged the gap to the modern day, and you're generally tapping and scrolling on your smartphone all the time, and that's direct manipulation. All right, now the second golden rule. Reduce the memory load of your users. Don't use string fields for input. If you do, you can remember what was put in there last time. You can automatically populate, provide a drop down. Use the combo box or something. That will greatly reduce the amount of input errors, right? And you can validate the input as well on the other side. But so the users should be able to just recognize, oh yeah, this is what I did last time. Let's use that. They don't have to remember what they answered.
One good example with some of that stuff, the meaningful things for recognition. For many of like the enums and stuff like that, we would actually put the element number next to the enums where you get the data. You can actually know, oh, one meant, turn on, and two meant you see that data. That way it's a little easier for the UI users to look at data layers out. That's what I want.
Right. Awesome. All right, provide meaningful defaults. Here I have a blank app. It's a demo app. I have no idea what it does. And neither does anybody who downloads it because there's nothing there. Do I have to hit that button? What happens when I do? There's no context. There's no pre-populated thing. So when you first install your application, what's your onboarding process for new users? And do you have your program, does it do something by default? It should. Use real-world metaphors. Here, if I want to read a book in a touch interface, using a bookshelf or magazine rack is a perfect, straightforward metaphor. And you want to be able to have non-cluttered interfaces. Less is more. Only show the things on the screen that are relevant for the current task.
Real quick question, is there a reason you skip A?
There was a lot of stuff. So I like this list, but my concern is some of this stuff is a little dry.
Less is more.
Exactly. So I cut the content, but I use the numbers. This chapter is available on Theo Mandel's website for free. You can get the PDF and read through it. It's like a 30-minute read. If you skim fast. So,
can we back up to the defaults for a second?
Yes.
Something there is, you want to have defaults like the first time the program was ever run. That makes sense. But if they set something up and then they quit the program and restart it, typically they want whatever they last did, not the defaults.
You want to sustain the context.
Yeah.
For sustain state again.
All right. And that was like, sweet, number one right here. That's part of the consistency. If I'm working, with my engineering system, whether I'm going through the web app, the website, or running a desktop app, things should look and operate the same. And that will lead to less confusion between these different programs.
I have something specific on that, is that I don't agree with hiding buttons. You should gray them out if they're disabled. But the idea is that if you're constantly hiding and creating controls, the user might actually be interested in going to another page, and then they can get lost, they can get confused. And you want to just say, on the same page, it's just you can't do these things right now.
I have that experience with my grocery store. It drives me crazy. They run out of product and just put different products in the place, right? That's bad user interface design.
That's up to people. If you do disable something, I do want to say, I always make a tip strip that explains why it's disabled.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Or a message when you hover over it or something.
That sounds informative.
No, I mean, but
Education is using time. It sounds like
I want to check status.
Awesome.
Yeah, actually, if I have more text, it will fit in the text strip. But it only appears so it's not cluttered. It's not indicated.
Yeah, I got a room full of LabVIEW architects. You guys obviously been doing good UX instinctively, right? I don't know over the years.
Not necessarily.
No, but we've done a lot of UI.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I don't need to tell you then that this is not aesthetically appealing. You probably get a gut feeling when you look at it that, hey, this is using colors in a weird way. Hey, this is a little crowded. I have no idea what this application does.
What is that?
It's like point of sale to that.
I got this actually from CERN's training materials and their user interface sites.
Wow.
Oh my god.
That makes me really take this.
And then here on the right, I have Visual Studio, and it has a dark theme and a light theme. Sold. Okay. So let's switch gears a little bit. That's golden rules. Let's talk about material design. Might sound familiar. So that's the danger you run when you have a themed summit. But here I'll go into a little more detail than Jim did about exactly what material design is, how the system would work. So material design is a thing that Google made. First in 2014, they updated it last year in 2018. It's a set of several things. First, there are several web pages that you could spend hours reading through their design guidelines. They've set up a system that you can apply to mobile, desktop, and web design that looks really good. And it drives a lot of the style and look that's on the web and on Android right now. So those are things that, we as LabVIEW architects can emulate some of these things and have really cool looking UIs that are consistent with other products. The other thing that it has are some resources that you can download and use today. And they also have some code components that are for Android, iOS, and the web that you can just drop into your application, get those libraries basically, and use those different building blocks to build an application, or the user interface at least. So let's talk about the design guidelines real quick. So you've seen tons of flat UIs over the past 10 years. And that's kind of the inspiration behind this concept of material. And material has surfaces, so they have a height and a width, but they are always one scale pixel thick. They don't have thickness. And the other thing they do is they cast shadows. So if you go on the definition page on material.io, you can scroll through dozens and dozens of these different kinds of pictures that say what surfaces do and how they interact and how you put one next to another one or how they merge or fold or bend, things like that. It's really interesting, but that's all I'm going to talk about as far as this. It's hard to do those shadows in LabVIEW. I don't know if anyone's tried to do that before. The other thing that I think would be really nice if we had was a way to easily reskin our UIs to have different color themes. So material design has this system where they have 12 main colors, but primarily you're only using a primary and a secondary color, and then you're defining a text color on those colors. And everything else is automatically calculated. So really, that reduces the amount of options you have to pick. For the components, the palette is saved in colors.xml. You update that file, and UI changes colors magically. It looks really cool. You can experience this on the web. You can use their color and accessibility tool. And here I'm driving it to pick a primary color, a secondary color. Oops, I picked a red for my text color. Nobody can read that. And if you go over to the accessibility tab, you can see, that's not a legible color. I probably shouldn't use that in my application. Let's pick something better. So that's a neat way to pick the colors for your app. Here's something. I went to fonts.google.com. I did a search. They have like 900 font families of, between 1 and 10 different visual fonts. These are open source, they're free, they have a permissible license. You can go there now, download these fonts, and use them. Use them for LabVIEW, use them for PowerPoint, or just general use on your computer. It's pretty awesome.
A little next version of LabVIEW and all gets screwed.
Actually, how do you use extra fonts? Is that something you can?
I use the ice cluster.
I installed these TrueType fonts through just by double clicking them in File Explorer.
Okay, so once you install it,
I use the font dialog in LabVIEW to select them. So that's all.
What about will it retain if you make an EXE and then move that?
Yeah, when you
deploy?
You have to put it in the cell and be very mindful of that. Or some other mechanism.
Yep. So it gets a little more complicated when you're doing that, but it's really easy to make a demo. Same thing with icons. So material design has provided like 8,000 icons, 5 different styles of like 800 glyphs. That doesn't add up. It's a lot of stuff. So you can go there and you can download them individually, pick the size. Yes.
Metro Studio is the other one that you can do that's free. And they provide about 7,000 plus icons.
Awesome. Yeah. So you can get icons. That's not a problem. Getting them into
They're all just free use, commercial purposes.
Yes, these are free, permissive licensing. It's one of the open source licenses that has minimal things. Or you can do what I did here. I went to their Git repo and I just downloaded the whole thing and the license file came with it. You don't have to think about it that much. So cool, icons. That's art, right? We craft, icon buttons all the time. I'm sure everybody here has done that. It's kind of a pain to edit and stuff. So we'll get to that soon.
Those icons, you very easily just put in the icon editor.
Yeah, they're pink files, right? Copy, paste, whatever. So the last thing I want to talk about with material design are the components. So these are available for Android, iOS, the web, and Flutter. Does anybody know what Flutter is? I know. But this is all code that I cannot directly use. This is stuff that we can emulate. And these are the building blocks of Android or material design looking websites.
What we need to do is convince material design to support LabVIEW.
That would be cool. Yeah.
More popular than Flutter, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. So let's look at some of these things. So some of the bigger components are like application menus, a navigation drawer. People who write applications for Android are not creating these things themselves. They're installing these libraries and calling these objects, constructing them, and going on their day. And it's easy. Not for me personally, but I'm sure it's easy for them. So, I wanted to focus on kind of the small stuff first. This text field is really cool. It has a whole ton of options that you can exercise, and the thing that I like the most is when you click on the text field, that label moves and shrinks. So there's a little animation. It's very subtle, but that's like, it's a little part of interacting with the UI that brings you just a tiny bit of joy. And that's important. You want your users to feel that. So that would be a cool thing to create. I didn't quite get there for this demo. I did buttons as I showed you at the beginning. The other thing that I'd like to create are dialogues like this. We use something called the MPA framework. These dialogues translate into views that have options that you can just construct and give them the data they need and go on their way. So this is kind of on my radar as a style of thing to construct that we'll add to our libraries. And last but not least are buttons. I think this is probably the one thing that we are creating the most of and customizing when we make our UIs. Material design buttons are really cool. They have this really slight animation where the color sweeps from where you clicked to the other side of the icon. So right to left, left to right. Click on the middle, it's center app. I would really love to have an animated button in LabVIEW.
I would say actually like that, because then it distracts from what we're trying to do. Remember, less is more.
Nice. All right. Here's my presentation again.
But if you have fun with it, then you want to distract it from the fact that it doesn't work.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
Okay. So we kind of started here. So gone through an iterative process. I've met several dead ends trying different things out, and I've been able to create this button thing that makes buttons with hover effects, text, and arbitrary material design icons. So let's go with it a little bit.
So are you or your company planning on publishing like a library of material design like stuff that's for LabVIEW?
I don't want to write toolkits. I want to make tools. So this is kind of like
Trying to inspire all of us.
what's something I could do and show off as part of my presentation that would be relevant to what I'm talking about. And this is where I ended up. From here, I think what I'd like to do is to make this a queue control. So we'll have a dialog that generates a queue control. And then you can create your own buttons for your own projects. We'll add that to our open source libraries. You guys can use it if you're interested. So that's basically where my thoughts are on this right now. So let's back up, let's stop and talk about all the stuff I did to build up to that. Hey, yeah, quick preview of everything. Spilling all my secrets. Yeah, I have an aquatic theme for all my desktop backgrounds and VMs.
I would hope that you can just look at monsters.
No.
Here's an example of user interface I don't want.
Let's see. Yeah, I have a bunch of them right here. They change every hour, so we'll see if you can get surprised at some point. So the first thing that I tried, Current in LabVIEW has a ton of property nodes. You can do tons of stuff to the user interface. None of this stuff, as I was doing it, felt like it was particularly hard to buy in the language. I don't know if that's helpful to say. Here I found some form code that has some .NET kernels that will allow me to change fonts, or to populate this dropdown with all the fonts installed in my system. So it's Windows specific. I could provide a string input, you can type your font, but that would be bad UX. So I'm leveraging some code I found for that. So we can change fonts and string controls. That's not controversial. Here we can change colors of things. Like dark blue, it'll calculate a variant here for this. These are just color boxes. Right, the code for this looks really stupid. It's just a wire connecting two color boxes. But it's just an example. How can we reskin our application like the people designing advertising? We want to have the colors, pass them into our UI, and then have everything recolor itself. That's something I think we can do way more easily once we get interfaces and we can have things like, do the colors and just have our UIs have a method called, update my colors. And work. So what I have as part of that idea is I made a theme library that has, okay, what are my colors for the application? If I want to construct a palette, I can just take the primary and secondary color and calculate the variance, just like material design. So I do that here. That was pretty straightforward to do. Change the luminosity, so you got translate the RGB to the HSL and the fab. And then here is changing your fonts. Okay, great. Let's move on to the next thing. All right, so we want to generate an image of a button. How do we do that? So I have implemented the code, and you've seen the end result already, so this is not controversial for you. I can choose any color. What this is a 2D picture control. So what I did is I created an OO class to encapsulate all the functionality of a 2D picture control, and I'm just drawing different things on that picture control to build this image. So the code for that lives here in 2D picture. You have all the different components you can draw. Arc, circle, image, line, oval, things like that. And they're straightforward. I have a constructor for a circle, that takes all the inputs to the circle BI, puts them in the class private data, and then there's a draw method that calls that stuff. Doesn't look too pretty because the connector pane, but it works. Awesome. I was way fast in my first presentation. So I've got some really cool, I've got the wizard, right? You saw that on the screen before. Let's talk about animation for a few minutes. So it turns out you can just draw a bunch of pictures in memory and then display them for a brief second on a picture control and do some reasonable animation in LabVIEW without too many problems.
How's the resource overhead?
I don't know. I'm making this thing, I just did a naive approach.
Yeah, sure, it looks great.
It works, right? I think we're capped, like our eyes can only see things so fast, so like 30 frames per second on a small image, it's not a problem, right? So for animating buttons, I'm not particularly worried about it.
Yeah.
Don't
Turn it into like a 1990s website, right?
Yeah, totally. We can also script.
You can make a whole video game.
I'm pretty close to having basically a pie game implemented in LabVIEW. It's like just a few more classes here. Seriously, there's not too much to it. So doing the animation, and the last thing I'll show you is just the API for that. In this library, I have just a normal by value class that has a constructor, that has a play method, and in that play method, I needed something asynchronous to animate, so I made an actor, I launched the actor. Its life cycle is tied to the life cycle of the control reference, and it just works. So that's it.
Does your button editor produce a CTL file? Is that,
No.
It's just a demo of like what it might look like?
Right, so the vision here, let's actually put that slide up. So the plan is I'll make some sort of editor now that exposes all the functionality and styles of buttons. I'm not putting in data in this. And then I can make that into Q control, which I think is a good abstraction. So you'll just drop down a picture control on your block diagram into the size you want, wire it into the Q control like you would with anything else, and you should be able to use it. So thank you all, and take a few more questions.